Hi, this is Max from Common Ground Finds and Paper Gold. We are here for our weekly deep dive excavation episode. Cody, believe it or not, this is episode 9 already. We've got 9 episodes down after today. And today we are showcasing and featuring Wardell from St. Louis, who has an absolutely amazing story of finding out about us as booksellers and literally becoming a master student at the craft of buying and selling books. And his journey is amazing. So first, we'll have Wardell introduce himself, tell a little bit about his journey from the start, and then we'll take it on from there. So Wardell, tell us where you're from and what the book selling journey is all about for you.
Hey Max, hey Cody. Yeah, so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. So my book journey started about I want to say 4 months ago now. It's very early still. I basically was on YouTube and I came across a video by Romer the Romer, and I think Max, you were on there talking about you were starting your Patreon and things like that, and I'm like, wow, this the way he's talking about books, he knows a lot of things that I need to, figure out before it's too late and I waste a lot of money. So I said, you know what? It took me about a week, but I ended up joining your Patreon, and you and Cody were so like welcoming, and the group was welcoming. So I'm like, okay, uh, uh I want to say maybe two weeks goes past, and I go to my first estate sale after talking with you guys, and I'm like, I'm hooked. So I go to my first estate sale, and now I'm looking up estate sales each weekend. Each weekend, I'm trying to figure out where's the best estate sale, and I ended up going past a really good estate sale and using some tactics from you guys with a business card and dropping my business card off everywhere I go now. And I got a call back about some free books to come pick up from an estate sale, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of moving, and but it was just I knew it was a lot of things that I could find in there, and for free you can't pass that up. So I ended up leaving out with a truck full. I have a pickup truck, so I filled up my back of my pickup truck and I filled up my back seat, and I brought those books home and went through them, and I really found some paper gold in those. So my journey started really 4 months ago, and it's really taken off after that one pickup free pickup where I found that $1,750 book that really changed the game for me and showed me like this is the way. This is the way. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give a little Cliff Notes version of this as well
hmm
because I um I very much remember you calling me, or
yeah,
we were communicating on a Friday morning or a
yeah,
Friday early afternoon, and I was amazed at we had a probably a 20-minute conversation,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
were part of Paper Gold. Yeah, we were just talking, and the next day you were already sending me pictures from estate sales.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't even 24 hours. And I told you right from the get-go the things you were looking at were going to make you money. Uh,
hmm
I know that it was a slow process sort of to begin and
Yeah,
get the gears rolling in the right direction. But
yeah,
what I love about what you just said in your introduction is you made several points, and I want all the viewers to understand this. You made several points about Cody and I have always been adamant about our members making business cards. So even though you weren't selling a lot of books to begin with, you made the business card.
hmm
So advertised for free book pickups,
yep, yep,
and then life changed for you.
yes, yes, it
I,
did.
Cody, I remember Wardell saying, "Hey, I think I have something here." And to make a long story short, because we have an hour, he ended up getting a first edition, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway.
Yes,
Ordell and I took a couple minutes off of our schedules, and we looked at the points of the book to make
yep,
sure he had what he had. And I believe within 48 hours to 72 hours, he had sold that book for
yeah,
$1,550 on a
yeah.
free pick hookup, and it
Mhm.
never would have happened without that business card
Nope.
and and his hustle. His
Yeah,
hustle, his hustle
yeah,
is everything then, and
yeah.
his hustle is everything now. And so I'm just so proud of you for doing that. I know that you're now venturing into the world of Amazon,
Yeah.
which is a completely different platform, but
Hmm.
has similarities. And I know that Cody's been a big help for you
Oh yeah.
applying the hacks and the ways of the Amazon world. And I know that you definitely want to get deeper into Keepa with Cody. So what do you want to ask Cody about Keepa that he could do a deeper dive on for you during this episode? That is also going to help other people viewing this.
So basically, I have a few just wanted to basically go over like a quick step by step, one, two, three things that as soon as you look at Keeper as Cody, as when he's checking out a book, the first three things he want to look at to see if that book is profitable or not. Just real quick, like I check this, and this because when I'm looking at Keeper, I see so many things on the side that I look at, and I know I'm looking at the used price and I'm looking at, I'm really not really looking at the buy box and things like that. And I'm looking at more like when it dips and things like that. But I'm still like it's so many things on the side, and I feel like I'm missing out because I'm still so new to Keeper. So I'm like, maybe am I missing out on something that I like? You don't know what you don't know. So I kind of just like as Cody being so an experienced Keeper user, like what does he go to for like the first three things like I'm gonna automatically go to. So I kind of have like a blueprint. I'm more of like something I need like something that I can do exactly to every single time, so I can have like
Right.
that in my my
Yeah,
patterns.
you want to form the same habits as Cody has.
Exactly,
And
exactly. Good habits. Good
I think
habits.
in the next 30 minutes, Cody's going to be able to uncover all of this
Awesome.
dilemmas for you, and he's going to fix it. And I know as soon as we end this call, you're going to be implementing
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Cody's going to be giving you now. So Cody,
yeah.
do you have any questions for Wardell to get to a certain point?
No, but I do have a point to make. I think even more important than the knowledge of Keepa is when to use Keepa knowledge.
Okay.
So that's the first step that you should be utilizing, which is you want to be efficient with your time as you're processing this stuff, but you don't want to miss out on those books, where let's
Mhm.
say the market's just not priced correctly,
Right.
whatever that might be. But the key is to know when to use Keepa. You
Okay.
don't want to use Keepa for every single book that you see. You're just wasting your time because the majority of your books, as you know, when you scout and you're scanning a book, and let's say every copy out there is $20-$30, the
Yeah.
rank is like 200-300K, great e-score. You know it's a good book. Like you don't have
Right.
to go to Keepa to see that that's a good book. But
Right.
the key is knowing, and I'm going to show some examples. I don't know, were you watching the show Thursday or not?
I think so. Yeah, I was there Thursday. I was there
Okay.
Thursday.
So consider this is a different scouting tool, but just consider this just like your
Yeah.
scout IQ.
Right.
Okay. So I'm just pulling up. These are the two examples that I had last night or this past Thursday, and I wanted to show just because they have recent information that
Hmm.
would normally confuse people. So
Right.
this is this is a book that myself I would be checking Keepa for.
Mm.
What I do when I'm deciding to check a book is, are the prices high and the sales rank high, right? If those
Hmm.
two things are the same, then it
Hmm.
means one of really three things.
Okay.
That means that either it's a slow moving, very slow moving, high price book, or it is a book that is what we call fool's gold, which
Mm.
is it's
Yeah.
got a
Food go.
sales rank and it's got sales history, but it sells for, very cheap when it does
Hmm.
sell. Or it's kind of it's in the middle of the road where, let's say, yeah, maybe it's not the price that people have it listed for, but it's still worth listing as long as you know what the market's willing to pay for it.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So consider this your scout IQ, right? So
Mhm.
here's our sales rank. It's saying we've got two offers and they're both merchant fulfilled.
Okay.
125.99. Sales rank of 4 million, e-score of 2. So you know it has sales history,
Hmm.
right? But it
Hmm.
hits that mark, A, high sales rank, right?
Right.
And high prices listed. Because what one thing you have to remember, all your scouting tools will do the only thing they can do is compare what the active prices are to basically how often the book sells. They see nothing that has anything to do with what the book is selling for. All they see is what it's listed for and how fast it sells.
Yeah,
So
that's the key point, Wardell. That's the total key point right there, what Cody just said.
right,
What
and that's
what it actually sells for.
right. So we can click right here. And I have the Keepa chart added to my Chrome extension, but can you see this chart very well?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. All right, so here we are. You do have a little bit of an understanding of the basics of Keepa, or no?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at
Okay.
Keepa every day, so I got a
Cool.
decent understanding.
Okay, perfect. So this is one of the better examples. So you can see right here, all the way from January 6th, all the way up until it looks like the 4th of February. There were no available copies, right?
Yeah.
So usually what happens is when there's no copies and somebody puts theirs up, one of two things. Somebody is very optimistic about their price, or their repricer, which I think is probably most of the time this is the case. Their repricer has if there's no active listings, price at this number. That's what'll happen. Okay. So but looking at this chart, I mean I would say off the bat you probably could tell. Could you tell what this book is worth?
Well, I would say it'd be worth around, I can't see that bottom number there, but I'm thinking it's nowhere near what it's going for up there. I'm thinking it's somewhere around, what is that, $20, or is that right above
It's right.
$10?
It's right. Yeah, $13.99 is
Yeah,
what
right above
this
$10.
was. Yeah. So it is 100% fool's gold.
Yeah.
Could if this, again, this is an important thing. We even mentioned this during the show. Keeping in mind seasons when you're in books is always good to know.
Oh yeah.
If this was a Christmas time season, I may have been more inclined to list this. If I picked this book up, late November, early December, I would have probably been inclined to list this thing for $15, $20. But there's no shot that I would be listing this book right now, FBA, because when we can go back even a year, right? So
yeah,
this book sat at $13, it seems, from September all the way till January.
Okay.
You're not making any money on that book. You're not making any money on that book. And before that, it sold for 10. So using Keepa, I think, utilizing Keepa is probably the easiest thing most of the time to do. The hardest part is learning when to use it, right? That is the hardest part. So that's the first thing, which now I don't have an example of the alternative here right in front of me, but the alternative when you're looking for a book is not only high sales rank and high price, but if you're seeing no active listings, right? No active listings, those are the ones you always want to keep up, because if there's nothing to compare against, your scouting tool tells you no information. It says nothing to you.
Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're seeing those books, always keep those every single time.
Okay, yeah, that's what I needed to know. See, okay.
Yes. And here let's give you another one real quick. Let's see.
While Cody does that, let me ask you, Wardell, are you utilizing Keepa while you're at the bins or the thrift stores or the estate sales, or are you buying and then going home to Keepa?
See, it's dependent on what I'm actually doing. Like, I go to different things, so it's dependent on, is it a packed estate sale? Am I under pressure? Because sometimes I get real real into it. Like, I get zoned in, and I do my Scout IQ, and then before I leave, I will do Amazon to make sure I can sell them all, and the price is actually what they say on Amazon. So that's what I usually do. I don't do Keepa unless I'm like at somewhere like a Goodwill and I got time to where I can like really look it up.
Yeah,
Well,
and what you feel is very normal. We all feel that pressure when there's other people around.
Yeah, yeah,
Cody and I definitely understand that. Just don't be afraid to pull it off the shelf, put it in your pile, and deal with it later.
yeah.
yeah, I
That's
was
what I'm
about
gonna
to
start
say,
doing. That's what I'm
yeah,
gonna start
I'll
doing.
have a separate pile as you're going
Yeah,
through this stuff. Max, I
yeah.
got this for a minute if you need to go take him a treat or whatever. But if you can put those in a just a separate pile as you're processing everything else.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say every time they're good. I'm not even going to say most of the time they're good. But
Hmm.
the ones that are good are almost always very good.
Yeah.
Especially when you like I just found an example for us real quick of what I was talking about. I forgot that I had that. Ignore this. This is just what my scouting tool defaults to if there's nothing
Hmm.
available. But you can see here, right?
Hmm.
Zero used offers,
Right.
zero FBA offers, sales rank 1.3 million, e-scores 4. And remind that this is the second reminder, just like with this book, right? This book said green, right?
Hmm.
Green and red don't give us the answer for
Yeah.
everything. When it comes to these oddball books, don't trust red and green for it. So, but in the same content, right here, we've got a red reject, no copies
Right.
available. First thing I do is I go check Keepa. And you can have a look right here, okay?
Hmm.
So this book pretty much has sat um since it looks like December of this year. And the rank has just climbed and climbed and climbed
Right.
until all of a sudden everything's gone. Pretty much everything is gone. The
Hmm.
collectible copy is gone, the used copy is gone. And the additional thing that I will say to be paying attention to here is
Hmm.
how many copies, right? We
Ah.
went we
Okay.
went from 3 copies to none just like that.
Hmm.
That means for me, right? I'm
Hmm.
pricing this book high. I don't remember
Okay.
what I've already priced it, but I priced it high because 3 copies sold out on the same day for 54.89, and then the next day a collectible copy sold for 152. So I don't remember exactly where I priced mine, but mine was at least that 152 mark, if not a little bit higher.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah. So, well, I mean, the beautiful thing is I know this book is probably going to sell for at least $54, so I'm going to
Right.
win. But
Right.
but when nobody else is on the listing, you have the reins to that book, right? You can
Hmm.
set the price, and as long as the demand is high enough, someone's going to buy it, right? Now,
Yes.
does that mean I could take that season's greeting cookbook, right, that people listed for $125 and it'll sell for 125? No.
No.
But with a book like this is a bit of a different story. They all sold out, by the way, pretty much the day before the Super Bowl.
Mm.
So it's a football related book. I've got mine up for around that 175 when it goes up. My lister's got it boxed up actually behind me now. Um, but it's going to be a good one. So this is the key to why you want to check. This was a
Yeah.
if I were to just be scanning and not looking at my screen, you'd miss this. This book would
Yeah.
be missed.
That's insane. I've missed that by looking at my screen and just leaving it there because I just thought I was like, oh, it must be worthless then, not worth looking up. So now I'm definitely going to be putting those in a pile. I'm going to be putting those in a pile. That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and you're going to see the more you do. I'm not sure if you're currently doing non-barcodes on Amazon, but if you aren't, when you do, you're going to see this more often than you are with barcodes, and there's a reason for that, and I think it's pretty obvious. If it's not a barcode, less people are going to try and find it for Amazon.
Yep.
Less
Yep.
people finding it for Amazon means there's less available copies, and
Hmm.
however, if the demand for the book is high enough, there's gonna be plenty of times where the book's
Ah,
not available. You
that
get what
just
I'm saying?
clicked for me. That just clicked. That makes so much sense. Okay, that makes so much sense. Okay. Yeah,
Right.
So,
so the demand is there, but so many people are just passing them up because they just want to go straight to the barcode books that
Right.
the demand is so high now. It's like when every time you put one up, say a actual book that's worth something, you put one up, it's gonna sell fast. It's gonna you're gonna better make
Yeah.
your money back really,
Right.
really fast. That's
And
that's
the
insane.
the the key to this though is making sure, right? I've gone through and I've culled a lot of my merchant fulfilled long tail inventory, and I'm down to probably about 30% of it,
Oh,
what I used to have. Most of that was converted to FBA. And what I did with these books is I made sure that as I was processing them, that I was going through Keepa and I was finding the price point, the lowest average sell price when the book was selling. And I was making sure that when my lister got a hold of that book, that they knew what that price was. And I make exceptions on my repricer. You have a repricer?
yeah, I'm using Be
Okay.
Cool right now.
Okay, perfect. So this is a good thing to keep in mind.
Okay.
You can find a book like, let's say, like this, or we'll use this one as an example here, the one that we were just going over.
Yeah.
Let's say that you're like, okay, 125.99 is just too high, but if you pulled up the Keepa chart and you were seeing this number was, let's say, 29.99 instead of 13.99, and you're like, I think I'm happy with getting 29.99 out of that.
Right.
If you were to just list this book, even if you put in your whatever your listing software is that you want to put it up for, if you put it up at 29.99, your book, when it hits the shelf, will not be 29.99. You're going to be competing against all the other offers. Your repricer it's the same thing as your scouting tool. The only data it can go off of is what the other listers have their prices for. So it's going to try and compete with them. If you don't set exceptions for your repricer for these long tail, or let's say oddball books where people are just listing the price too high, or you're trying to be the next sell. If you're not setting the exception for that, your book will be listed up there for 125.99 and not sell. It won't sell. So you want to make sure that, let's say, if this was a book that was $30, that when you go to list it, you as your scan, like, you can use your scanner.
Yeah.
This is what I do for my lister. When he scans it into the listing tool, he also has a separate document that he scans it in. Because all you got to do is press the scan button if you have a document open, and it'll paste it over there. And he puts the price beside it. So that way I know when it comes time to getting the box in, I just I pull that document up and I go to my repricer. I paste those SKUs into my repricer, and I go in and set the exception. So I don't know how Be Cool does it, but with my repricer, I can set a max and a minimum. I never set a minimum, but I set maximums all the time, especially for books like this. So I would set the price of my book to be $29.99 on the max end. So that's the highest point that my repricer is not allowed to reprice the book above $29.99. I don't set a minimum because I don't want it to be where somebody comes in at $25, and I want mine to reprice against that one, because it's such a slow selling. Like, with the slower selling books, you're not relying on the fact that you have FBA to bump up the price, right? In my opinion, it is super important to be competitive with the merchant fulfilled listings on those books. So if I have a book that's ranked, let's say 4, 5, 6 million, I just sold a 12 million ranked book this morning. So if I have a book that's in the higher sales rank category, and there are people listed on merchant fulfilled, I want my price to be competing with theirs, because this is the way I would say to think about it. Your sales rank not only means how fast the book sells, but it means how many times somebody is going to Amazon's webpage and looking at that book to buy it, right? Those are the same thing. If you have 100,000 sales rank book, people are looking at that book all the time. If you have a million sales rank book, it is way less often, most of the time, that they're looking at that. So what I want to do is make sure when those few people do see that book, that my book is a no-brainer for them. Why would you go and buy the merchant fulfilled copy that's going to take an extra 7 days, cost shipping on top of it. Why would you want to buy from them when you could just order it from Prime at the same price and get it there the next day? That's the way I want people to think about it. That's how I want you to think about these long tail books,
That
especially
is that's
doing.
smart.
Yeah. So it's key. You're doing FBA, right?
Yeah,
Or are
yeah,
you?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
FBA for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So these books can sell, and I've made more on my merchant fulfilled inventory in the last couple of months than I ever have with it being listed merchant fulfilled. Like I've
Oh
made it
wow.
with it being listed FBA. And
Yeah.
yes, this takes a little bit more time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but when you're making $20 at a
Mm-hmm.
minimum every
Mm-hmm.
time you're doing this for a sale, that
Mm-hmm.
adds up very, 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 very fast.
Yeah.
And when you equate that number to, basically the effort that you're putting in,
Right.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer for sure.
Cody, quick question on the football book.
Yeah, sure.
Just because of the subject matter, was that for Wardell's knowledge? Was that a clue in for you that this is something you have to check?
No, so I don't let what the subject matter of a book is determine how I value it on Amazon, right? I let
Yeah.
data decide that for me on Amazon. So the only reason that I checked Keepa for that book, Wardell, let's see, were you paying attention? Why did I
Mm-hmm.
check Keepa? Why did I check
Oh,
Keepa for the football book?
because there was 0 0. There was no real data on it from the
That's right.
there was no
Yeah,
real data
there's
on it. It
no
was like
listings. There's
yeah,
no active listings.
yeah, there were no active listings, so you just went straight to Keepa for that.
So on Amazon, if you were looking for this book, Cody, just to make sure, this is going to say currently unavailable.
Yeah, yeah. So like if we were to pull this up, I mean, unless somebody has just recently put it
Right.
up, but I'm not seeing that. Yeah, no, it's out of print, limited availability. It's looking like you can't get it. Yep, nope, no copies, nothing's available right now. But I do have another one. I think this is an important thing to look at as well. Looking at this off the bat, it's kind of like a mediocre looking book. There's people on an FBA right now, which is always a turnoff for me with sending in a book FBA that's long tail. But I want to show you, you talk about Keepa.
Right.
This is less on the scouting tool side, but more on the Keepa side. And I think this is an important thing that people overlook and can cause them to send in bad inventory. So looking at this, I went back a year. Okay.
Okay.
I want you to tell me what you think this book is selling for. First up, when was the most recent sell?
The most recent sale was, it looks like December.
Okay, right here, right?
Yep.
Okay, and what about the sale before that?
That looks like right before September, a little bit in September it looks like.
Okay, gotcha. Right
Right
here.
before into August.
Yes. So with that, what
Okay. I see
what
what
would
we're doing.
you okay. What did the book last sell for?
It looks like around $40, $30. It's in
Okay.
between. It looks like it's in between 25 and 50. Is that?
What? We'll keep. What about the time before that? What does it look like it sold for?
Let's see. Looks like a little bit less, like maybe $30. Maybe it's hard for me to see those exact numbers, but
Yeah, it's all
looks
good.
like it looks like about $30. It looks like if I can see the correct in between numbers, it looks around in between 25 and $50. It's going in between, so that could be anywhere from like 35 to $30 maybe.
Okay. And right now, what is it showing? You see that lowest average
Oh
price right
yeah,
now?
it dropped pretty low back down like to $25 or less, or maybe like $20.
So what if I were to tell you right now that you were looking at the wrong information the whole time?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what this is about because this is I remember using this a while back.
Hmm.
This is a great, great, great learning point for this book. So what if I were to tell you that the last used offer, it seems this was the last time it sold right here where my mouse is back in let's see, March 22nd. Would that make any sense to you as to why?
That would be the last time it sold.
That would be the last time it was sold the last lowest average sell price was $20 when the used copy sold.
Yeah, I would be surprised. Yeah.
So this is the thing you're missing right here. You see the
Mm-hmm.
blue line?
Mm-hmm.
What does that blue line say?
Is that
Right
new?
here, remember? That's new. And what corresponds with the sale, with the dips
The
right
dip,
here?
the new,
What the new disappears, right? And what
okay.
about here? The new
I wasn't even looking at that line.
exactly. The new when the dip happens, where's the new offer? It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
And even before that, it's showing that the sales that were happening here
Mm-hmm.
appear to be the collectible condition one. Maybe one of
Mm,
these was a regular use, maybe, but the the last time this was really selling in the used price, it was like around $17 or $18. And and
ah,
and this is about pretty much a year. It's been basically a year
mm-hmm.
since a used copy sold. But if you were to be looking at the sales rank, you would think this is like a maybe a decent book putting
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but this is that this is what I'm bringing up. Your scouting tools can only get you so far. You
Mm-hmm.
look at this and you see, hey man, it really only sold because it was a new copy, and
Yeah.
it sold because it was a new copy. Hell, the
Mm,
price has dropped down to a little bit above what it was here, so it might actually get a sell. But if you were to be listing this book for the price, like I know whenever I first did this, there wasn't that $20 price range. It was in the 40. So if you were to scout this
mm-hmm.
book before knowing the new price and it was still
Mm-hmm.
here, you would have been competing and trying to compete with a $40 tag, when in reality, if you were to be paying attention, you would be
Yeah,
putting this book up at like 19.99, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And then you're going to be that next sell for the book. But
yeah.
this is another thing. You want to be paying attention to not just the dips, but
Yep.
what sold, right? What
Yeah.
the new one, the collectible, the used one, but also making sure you understand like when the book sales. Like, let's see here. This is a thing that I can't really explain myself. I just know that this is something that I look at. But this dip, when it sold, I'm looking at the used offers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing any used offers disappearing. I see one disappear for it looks like a day,
Mm-hmm.
but it's right back up. It will actually within the same day another offer is back up. So that tells me that more than likely it was just removed or somebody put it in their cart and they never
Mm,
actually purchased it or they canceled it or
okay.
whatever it might be. So paying attention to this is super, super, super important to do.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
huge. That's huge.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
game changer.
Yeah, yeah. So you having access to Keepa is obviously amazing, but
Oh yeah.
like I said, the most important thing is to know when to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were to take something away from today, I'm curious as to what you would say it would be. What makes you decide to check a book on Keepa? What would make you make the decision to check Keepa for a book?
Well, the way I have to learn certain things that are like mind blowing, one thing at a time. So the one big
Yeah.
main thing that I learned that like that just really I'm gonna implement is any books that I see that are basically no offers or zero, like because on Scout IQ it's no e-score, or it doesn't let us know, it basically has no offers in the FBA or any of the slots. So if I see that, at first I would just pass those up and not worry about them. But now I'm definitely going to be putting those to the side and looking those up on Keepa. And the second thing is really like what you just showed me about. I've really been reading Keepa completely wrong this whole time. So I've definitely learned, now the correct way to actually look at the chart and see what I'm really like trying to focus on when I'm looking to see if this book is worth sending in or not. So I really learned a lot about that new offer line, like that I was confused about those lines, the way sometimes they pop up, and like that's a perfect example of what I was confused about. So it's really shed light on, really how to better understand the Keepa map.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So on,
I would say one more thing to add to what you said. What I do that I incorporate is finding those books where people just have the book priced out of what people are willing to pay, right?
Mm,
You can
mm,
still turn those long tail books where they have like I said, even though this isn't the best example of a book that you would do this with, you can turn a book where, if let's say people are willing to pay $40,
Mm-hmm.
$30, $20 for a book,
Mm-hmm.
but the price, like everybody has theirs priced out too high. Coming in on these long tail books and pricing it accordingly to what people are willing to pay can get you great. I mean, that you can turn a book that says it's a 4 million rank into a book that sells within 7 days of being listed FBA.
Yeah.
And so the yes, the no active listings are usually the best, but these are just as good.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is making sure that when it gets sent in and when it's active, that it's priced the right way. That is
Mm-hmm.
super important.
Yeah,
And
pricing it correctly.
this is why on our Thursday Zoom calls, when Cody does the deep dive with the Keepa, he's really not showing you quick moving books. He's always showing you high ranking books and
Definitely.
how he's come up with the information to whether it's going to be FBA or merchant fulfilled. So it's very imperative that you understand that, once you gather the right knowledge of how to read the Keepa chart, your sales are just going to go up and up, and your sourcing is going to get better too.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm really focusing on right now. Just learning the keeper and learning how to, properly price the books so they sell.
Yeah, and I don't think you've been doing it all wrong.
Oh yeah.
I think you made some mistakes along the way, but
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But
that's normal for everybody.
yeah, yeah. I've been learning as I go, but I've definitely been seeing the success. So it's just driving me to go and find more.
Yeah, so do you have any other questions or, thoughts on Keepa? I've got actually real quick. Let me get this one pulled up. So this book was actually signed. Okay, this is a little tidbit, interesting fact about this,
Oh
but
wow.
we'll get into that in a second. Before I listed my copy, $79.99. There's the dip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but you can also see not only is there the dip, but there's the dip in the used offer count, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, something to keep in mind too, these aren't going to always line up perfectly because when a book sells, Keepa doesn't like they don't always pull the data at the same time. So you
Okay.
may see like a sale happen and then the dip, or vice versa, like a dip and then you'll see the sale. It doesn't all you're not going to see it line up perfectly every time. But anyway,
Okay. That makes sense. That helps.
yeah. But let's say okay, so then well, that one sold, and then the next person, the lowest price they had it for was 95. And then look, boom, right there, it's gone. They also then someone has the collectible version. I'm not sure what happened. Didn't sales rank didn't drop it, but it was gone. Well, somebody put it in for 63.99, and it looks like it lasted 5 or 7 days, and it was gone. Well, I had put my book up in, and it's not showing the sale yet because it just happened today, but the sales rank was 8,554,000. I
Mm.
had mine up for $175. I listed it as collectible. I listed it and I made sure to notate that it had a signature and it sold.
Mm.
Now this
Wow.
book, the book first went up. It went live. It's looking like January 12th. So a book,
Okay.
so obviously that didn't
Wow.
happen overnight, but a book
Right.
that was ranked 8 million some odd sold for $175 within basically within a month. It sold.
And do you mark it as collectible? Do you use that on a go-to lister or do you?
Yes, you do that. Now that is a trick that you'll need to be mindful of too.
Hmm.
For I listed this one as collectible just because it was signed.
Okay.
But the other reason you're going to be using the term collectible
Yeah.
is when you find because Amazon you'll see Amazon's list price and what
Hmm.
they have as their recommended list price.
Right. Right.
Most of the time their list price is there and it makes sense and it helps keep the market from, getting like people overpricing everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
But there's millions of books out there and they can't be accurate on all of them.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you'll have a book that has turned collectible that the demand is there for, but the supply isn't. And let's say it's a book you can sell for $100. Well, Amazon still has their list price at $12.99.
Right, right.
Because, let's say 10 years ago that made sense, but now
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing that people can't get any copies, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that is a turn into collect. So if you were to list your book, just put it in good condition and sent that
Mm-hmm.
into Amazon, I'm sure you've already experienced this, but where you get a high price error on
Yes,
Amazon, you've got to fix.
that's what keeps happening to me on like one or two books, and I'm like, I've heard of collectible, and I've heard, but that's why I was so curious on when you said you sent it in as collectible. I'm like, what does that exactly do? So I
Yeah.
was like, how do I
So
stop that?
being using collectible, aside from using it when it's obviously a
It's collectible.
collectible, like it is a book where it has a signature, that's a reason to do that. But it is to get it bypasses Amazon's list price because you're saying, hey, my version is collectible. So
Mm,
they're like, okay, well then it's not just the normal book, so you're good to
yeah.
go. So that's how you get around that. Now keep in mind if your book is giving you that error, and let's say it's a fast selling normal book, it might just be that the prices that you were scanning and going off of were
Oh,
inflated
okay.
prices, and
Mm-hmm.
Amazon's come in and was like, nah, this is what this is
Mm-hmm.
the max you should be. So, that's another reason you'll get that. But oftentimes you'll have a book where that it'll sell for X, Y amount, but the issue is you're not able to get it up there for that. So
Yeah.
if you're paying attention to what Amazon's list price is, which you should always be doing, you can
Mm-hmm.
save yourself money from having to return it to yourself or whatever you
Yep.
might do by
Yep.
going ahead and making sure you list it in that condition so that you don't have to deal with the high pricing
Ah,
errors.
yep. See, that's what I that was one of the huge things I was a little in a gray area about. So I didn't know understand. So I'm like that's definitely helpful. I'm definitely going to be looking out for it because I checked the Amazon listing and see I checked the prices before listing, but I didn't know what what that collectible meant. So I didn't know how to exactly use it. But now I'm definitely going to be because I have like two books up that people are on a listing that has it as collectible FBA and they have their price set at I feel like the price I checked Keepa at and it sold for.
Sure.
But Amazon keeps giving me the error for mine, and I just had mine as used, good. So I realize now that's probably where I went wrong with the setting the price at not collectible. So, but now I know.
Cody, can
Yeah.
you show the picture of the book again, please?
Can you see it?
So, yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Cody. So Wardell, automatically though, Cody and I talk about this all the time with genealogy or city or,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or town history. If you see that book on a bookshelf, you're automatically putting. You don't need to research it yet.
Yeah.
You automatically that book's going home with you for further research.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Genealogy, history of a county, history of a town, history of a city, and when it looks old, even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
the first thing is automatic. That book goes home with you.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, the stuff sells all the time. All it takes is making sure that your pri again, this because you're selling on Amazon. This is just a portion. Like this is a small
Yeah.
portion of the books you're going to see, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
Definitely.
like what I've made mention of before is your books that you're selling on Amazon, or at least in my experience, usually about 30% of what I send in are non-barcode books, okay? So these are
Mm-hmm.
books that you may be doing on eBay already, right? They're
Right.
maybe 30%. But of that 30%, that makes up 50% of what my net profit is at the end of the year. So
Oh
my
wow.
non-barcode books on Amazon, which are it's I actually think a little bit less than that this year. It's less than 30%, but it's still I'm certain it's still going to make me at least 50% of what my profit is by the end of the year.
Wow.
These are
Wow.
the books where you're going to turn them, in from your normal 10, 15, $20 books into 80, 75,
Okay.
50, like
Okay.
consistently. And
All
the
right.
key is always to make sure that you're pricing it from what to what it needs to be in order to get the sell for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Those prices are still pretty high. So I wouldn't be upset at setting setting my prices at anywhere near that.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, the beautiful thing is we're already winning, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's still so much profit. So I'm
right, yeah, like
that's the price you're
so
getting for.
if you come like for me, I always make notes on books like that where I'm being optimistic on my price, like this one, for instance. I
Hmm.
always have like I keep track of these types of books, and let's say in 6 months or 5 months this book never sold. I can just drop the price. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I know for a fact that when this book was listed at 63.99, it sold almost instantly, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you can still come in and get the profit off of it, but
right.
when there's nobody else on it, you have all the power to make the pricing.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
this is business 101. This is supply and demand chapter one.
Yep.
All this is. Cody, we are going very quick as you can guess. Um, Wardell also has questions about whatnot and building
Yep.
relationships with consigners. We only really have time for one of those because I do want, at the end, I want to ask Wardell a question for the audience. So, Cody, which one do you want us to go over?
I just want to say real quick, for consigners, I would not use consigning as the first option,
Okay.
ever. That's
Okay.
just this is just my perspective. What I would tell you is you have consignment in your back pocket as an option for when
Okay.
you can't get other things to work. Okay.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
you're like with what I do, I build relationships with thrift stores. I work with thrift stores within like a 75-mile radius, and they're pretty much the same thing as a bulk Gaylord supplier for me. Okay. Like
Okay.
that's how I get bulk books. I pay X amount every time I pick up. Each store, sometimes I'll have different prices from different stores because I keep track of what sells from each one. But
Hmm.
that is just a different tool you could utilize in a scenario like
Uh,
that. I
okay.
have
Okay.
another store where I know that they're going to be filling up Gaylords for me.
Hmm.
I want to keep them happy, so I want them to do I want to do consignment with them so that they
Hmm.
continue to save more. They're like 2 hours away from me, so
Hmm.
that they'll save more for each trip when I come down. And they're like, "Holy cow, I'm getting a couple $100 in my first month with Cody."
Yeah. Yeah.
Sending stuff to him. So
Smart.
use it as something in your back pocket. I wouldn't necessarily
Start
try
with.
and
Yeah.
start with that. But
Okay. That makes
I
sense.
figured that we could kind of, and Max, unless you have any thoughts, that was a quick way to
Yeah,
kind of cut
yeah.
that one out.
The only thing that I would add on to that and piggyback on is consignment works when people have high dollar collections of books.
Sure.
And
Okay.
so if you walk into an estate and they have 2,000 books on Missouri history, we'll make it easy for you. Missouri
Hmm.
history. We know that a lot of those books are going to be very expensive. We also know this is going to be someone's lifelong collection. When
Hmm.
someone has a lifelong collection, they just don't want to sell it and give it up that easy. And
True.
sometimes consignment is what is the avenue that works because then they have a hand in still being part of that collection and watching it
Okay.
sell to the next home.
Okay.
So I think that, when you have a high dollar collection, that's when consignment is always very good for me personally. Um, but you do have to develop a relationship, and
Hmm.
sometimes you may not be able to get the entire collection. You may have to build a trusting relationship with them and say, please give me a chance. Give me 10 books to sell for you. Give me 30 days to try to sell these 10 books and let me show you what I can do.
Hmm.
So I
I
think that's the other avenue.
Yeah, but I would say on top of that, play that by ear and judge what they're wanting to do, because you
Okay.
can still find those great collections and they're just ready to move the
Yeah.
product, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Definitely.
so just let the consignment be a, hey, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose that opportunity to get it. Let that be when you have that
Pull
step
that
in.
out. Pull that out. Okay.
And
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
and if you were on the phone with Cody and I every day, you would understand this. But they are everywhere. These these collections. Cody bought a pastor's collection about a month ago. I know we talked about it
Yep.
on the show couple weeks ago. I bought one yesterday. He is in Georgia,
Really?
I'm in Florida. The one in Georgia, he had a set of books, an incomplete set of books that he bought. The next day, I found another incomplete set of those same books.
Wow.
So these books are everywhere. You just have to learn, and it comes with time. It's not, you can't snap your fingers. It comes with time. You have to
Hmm.
learn the salesmanship of how to find these and
Hmm.
make these relationships.
Yeah,
We are, we
definitely.
are we
Definitely.
are running out of time, so I have a two-part question for you, Wardell, that I would,
Definitely.
because you're doing phenomenal in your business. I know you're part-time now, correct?
Yep.
But I know your goal from day one was to try to get this to be full-time.
Full time. Yep.
So, what advice, with your 3 or 4 months in the book business, what advice would you, one, give to people who are new into the book game, someone who was like you, say, 4 months ago,
Hmm.
and also what have you learned the most about, one with eBay and one on Amazon? So a two-part question, so to speak. What advice
Okay.
would you give to others who are starting out? And then what have you learned the most about eBay that you didn't know about, and what you've learned most about Amazon that you didn't know about?
Okay. So the first part, I would say, it has to be find a community. Find a community and learn from the community and learn what you don't know first before you get out there and start making mistakes and buying books and buying things that you don't know how to resell yet, because it definitely I've learned from trying other things and other businesses that is better off to get into a community and get a mentor right when you can, because mentorship is super important because it saves you money instead of and time. It saves you time and it saves you money in the long run. So I think getting into the group and just finding people that I can connect with and I can like vent to, I think that is like one of the biggest things that I found helpful as for just starting off, because I
So
would have.
you're talking about the Paper Gold Discord.
Yep, the Paper Go
Okay.
Discord.
Yeah. I
The
woke
Paper
up
Go.
this morning, there were 64 new messages
Yeah,
that were
yeah.
posted overnight. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always something new happening in there. You jumping into different conversations, learning. I learned so many different things just from reading people's conversations. Like it's like being a fly on the wall, you know what I mean, and other people's
Right.
businesses, you know what I
Right.
mean. So it's pretty interesting. So I think that would be the number one thing I would say from that for the first part, and then the number one thing or the one thing I learned from eBay and the one thing I learned from Amazon, the one thing I learned from eBay would be being consistent on my posting. I think that was huge game changer. Just learning to draft my my post up and get them ready for when I'm ready to post them. I think that's just being like proactive on just like getting your inventory posted is or drafted, either or, just get them drafted and making sure you post them, of course. So I think that's the big thing I learned on for eBay, which helps. And Amazon is being consistent on sending in good inventory, sending in things that sell fast, but also you make a good profit off, not low profit sending books like the $2 $1 books. I try to stay away from. I'm moving up my profit goal. First starting off, it's okay to maybe when you're learning to send in a $2 or $4, but now I'm trying to get up to that $7 $10 $12 mark, $20 mark. So I learned just you got to start, you got to crawl before you walk, but just learning those steps, like being consistent on sending your inventory into Amazon weekly, just being consistent. I guess it goes for both apps. It
But
goes for both.
yeah. And also, I know this because I follow you on Instagram and I see you on Thursdays. We talk, but
Hmm.
you're selling books on both platforms every day of your life now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I mean, it hasn't changed your life yet
yeah,
completely, but it has begun the process of
yep,
changing your life.
yep.
Yeah.
I see it. I see it in the works. I can see it coming now. And I see so many people around me that it's changed their lives. So I know it's coming, and I can see like just the sunrise coming. So I know it's on the way.
Awesome. Cody, anything
Yeah,
in
I
closing?
would, I would, yeah, I know we're going a little bit over, but I want to make a couple points. First, the first thing you said about the community, not only do you have that, but you also have the ability, what I think, in my opinion, is one of the most important part is bypassing the growing pains, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
for me myself, I didn't have one. I did all this stuff the hard way and learned everything the hard way by making all the mistakes. You can bypass a lot of those mistakes by having a community like that. And secondly, I don't know, I know you don't necessarily source and like buying bulk or maybe buying collections,
no, I
but
cherry pick mostly.
yeah. So, but what I will say to you is when you do eventually get, let's say you pick up a large collection or something like that, do not be afraid of sending in those books where you're going to make $3-4 profit. I say this because based on what you value your time at, right? So let's say it's 3 books or $3 profit, right? Let's say you sent in just a box of books that were $3 profit each. If you had 30 books in there, that's $90. And I don't know how fast you are at listing books, but that's like 30 minutes, right? So $90 in profit in 30 minutes worth of effort. It is, there is still value in doing that. Now, I can understand, you have your own, profit points whenever you're doing your cherry picking, but definitely don't let that hold you back from also using those books, because those books can add up just as good as a $100 book. Yeah, it takes more time, but it's still just as valuable in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I've sent in quite a few of those $3.
Right. Yeah, don't try to hit a home run like the Hemingway every time. They will appear, like they've already appeared for you. They will appear. Sometimes you just have to hit a lot of singles too, and all of those singles add up to a home run.
Right.
So
Definitely.
Definitely. You're doing phenomenal. We are so proud of you and having you in the group.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate you guys.
and interacting with you. We are going to check back in with you in 3 months.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to do the same thing and check.
Things are going to be totally different in 3 months.
We're going
to
and I can tell you this right now, Cody, in 3 more months when we check back, we will both have a hat like Wardell. So all 3 of us will have this hat when we check back in 3 months.
Yes, let's go.
All right, you better thrift one for both of us, man.
I got you guys. I'm on a hunt. See you guys.
Thank you,
so
Wardell.
much.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Thursday night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.